Welcome to the City of St. Albans official podcast from the desk of Mayor James, a podcast dedicated to adding context and commentary to the important issues here in St. Albans, West Virginia. In each episode, we'll sit down with the St. Albans Mayor, Mayor Scott James, and discuss important topics related to the city and highlight upcoming events here in town. I'm your co-host, Anthony Romeo, and we do hope this inside look at our city government helps you feel more engaged with your community. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform, and we're out there on Spotify, Apple, and Google. And each episode is also available on our city's website at stalbanswv.com/podcast. With that said, let's welcome our host, the Honorable Mayor Scott James. How are you?
I'm good. Tony, how are you?
I'm doing well, and this time around we've got City of St. Albans Building and Zoning Official, Mr. Marshall Chaney, here with us. How you doing, man?
Oh, good to be here.
I tell you, there's been a lot happening since the mayor and I sat down, and obviously in your world as well, in the Building and Zoning Department, and we're going to touch on a couple of different topics here coming up, so, we'll be able to get your insight on things. But right off the bat, the new water tower project, I've noticed, is actually underway. I was up there today looking at it and looking at some of the progress. Could you touch on that a little bit, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, we've got a new water tank going in up at the east end of town, up above City Park Shelter 1. It's well needed to supply water to the east end of town. We have a company that is developing or building and then going to put in the water tank itself. And then we have a local company, Benchmark, who's owned by a St. Albans guy, Timmy Spradling.
Yeah.
They're running the pipe from the new tank all the way down to Canal Terrace, tying into the water line. So, this is going to be a big improvement in the area if we ever have a situation to where we're short on water for whatever reason. This is going to help the east end of town.
And from what I understand, it's a part of a larger ongoing initiative to improve things beyond that water tower, right?
Oh yeah, we created a 8-year plan, long-term plan to upgrade the water plant, the sewer plant, replace water lines. The total cost comes to about $60 to $65 million over that period of time. So, people have got to understand that with progress, there's associated costs.
Absolutely.
And so, we've got some ideas for funding, but there's a lot of different things out on the table, so we'll look at that as it approaches.
Yeah, and then from what else I've heard, that it's actually going to improve some of the facilities up in the park, some of the drainage issues and some of the water availability and service up there, from what I understand.
Yeah, actually, the water line's going to go under the road to the ball fields, which is going to be a big asset, and it's going to help up there a bunch. So, there's a lot of things, again, on the table, and it's going to take a little bit of time to get this project completed, so people have got to be patient.
Right.
The other day, I know after the storm, a little bit of storm, we had some limbs and trees down on the upper part of City Park, and, we put a message out, I think you did.
We did, yeah.
Anthony, about, be patient. It's closed. The road is closed. But yet I still heard people complaining. I'm like, come on, folks. We got to clean up the mess before you can get up. Either that or you can drive it and go over those trees with your vehicle and tear it up.
Yeah, especially if you don't have a truck or a larger vehicle.
Yeah, exactly. So we got it cleaned up. Everything's opened up. So
yeah. That's wonderful. But, you mentioned stuff that takes expense and time. And, building demolitions are no stranger to time and expense, correct there?
No.
And then, where our track record is probably about 40 plus demolitions.
No, it's I think it's about between the time I took office.
Yeah.
And what we've accomplished with this contract that the city came up with, Marshall just so instrumental in getting this done is about 50 or 51.
Oh, okay. I've lost count, and I'm behind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for setting that record straight.
We had several torn down before the contract was developed.
Yeah, and what the mayor's talking about is the demolition agreement. And a key player in putting that together was Marshall. And what that does is it alleviates, from what I understand, the outlay cost of having a building demolished on your own versus having the city come in and kind of help and assist with demolish and carrying off the materials and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we already had a demo budget when I started this.
Yeah.
And, luckily we were fortunate enough to get $722,000 over the past 2 years. And that's been a huge help. It really takes the financial burden off of these people. I mean, most of these, like we said, are inherited, and some are just neglected. But at the end of the day, most of these people were very grateful.
Yeah. So like an average demo, how much would that, I mean, let's take a 3-bedroom house and walk me through an average cost of a demo like that.
It depends on abatement. If there's asbestos, I mean, it could go $20,000, $30,000 to be abated. And that's just abatement.
Yeah.
And then you're looking around 10 to 12 for demo. The one we're getting ready to do was only $7,000. So we're spending $4,000 as a city. The homeowner's spending $3,000, and we were lucky to not have any asbestos.
Oh, that's great.
So it can be that cheap, or it can be outrageous.
Right.
Well, with the agreement, Tony, is we approached the owner of the dilapidated properties, and we said, we will do an abatement study. If it needs abated, we'll pay for that.
Sure.
We'll pay for the demolition. You write us a check for the dump fee. Then we take that money, put it back into the account, allows us to get more structures torn down.
Great. That's a good use of funds there. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, was the junior high a part of that demo agreement?
No.
No. The owner of the junior high at the time, we tried to work with him for an extended period of time.
Right.
And he wasn't going to work with us.
Yeah.
So there was an agreement or a lawsuit back in 2012, and he didn't abide by it. So we started fining that individual daily. He owed us between $700,000 and $800,000.
My goodness.
In fines. So what he did in lieu of the fines, he signed the property over to us.
Makes sense.
And then we used a combination of ARPA funds and grant money from the DEP to get that torn down. It was, $1.2 million, I think, total?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm glad you found humor in my question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But you spoke of an upcoming demo. Where is that going to be?
Spring Street.
Spring Street.
Yeah, Spring Street.
Okay. So that's probably coming up in the next couple of weeks? Or?
Well, it goes to council Monday.
Does it?
For approval, and then after that, just got to get the busy man Loftus to
there you go.
pencil us in.
It seems like he's at one end of the valley to the next, the very next day. But he's been an instrumental piece of, helping us out and getting these places torn down. But I think a hot topic that we hopefully can touch on, Mr. Mayor and Marshall, is the recent development of this El Rancho property. Now, if you don't remember where the El Rancho is, if you take a drive down Route 60 towards Spring Hill, you'll run right into it on the right.
It's the last property in city limits on the right.
Yeah. So the backstory of this, if we can, there was some lawsuits involved with an individual that wasn't really taking care of the property, and of course he was involved with a couple of other things. But walk us through that kind of process that landed us in where we're at now with the positive potential of taking care of that property.
Well, we went to him. I think we started before he was hired.
Yeah.
Marshall was hired. Chris Collins and I, and we approached him about fire codes and you're out of codes, you got to do this. And number two, that wasn't zoned for rental property, and he was renting the rooms out. So, he on more than one occasion he gave us a deadline. He'd have everything fixed.
Right.
Well, at one point he supposedly fixed the problems, but he didn't. They were still under fire code. So, we'll work with people until they basically lie to us or burn us a couple of times. and then we took him to court.
Yeah.
And we won at the local level. He appealed to circuit court. We won at the circuit court. He appealed to the Supreme Court, and we won at the Supreme Court.
Wow. Glad to see it through. That's a long process, and here we are. I guess ended up with possession of that property.
We do own it. We had to go up and pay some tax liens on it here recently, but it's our property, and we're going to put it up for sale and try to recoup some of our funding.
And from what I understand in council, there are provisions sometimes that are able to be put in that sale to prohibit it for certain uses.
Yeah,
right?
It's called restrictions.
Restrictions?
Yeah,
Okay.
any property that we sell now, there's not going to be rental property associated with it.
All right, that's good.
It's not going to be. I don't care if it's zoned with it or not.
Right.
We can put restrictions in. We got enough rental property in St. Albans. We need single dwelling homes.
Yeah.
To bring families into our community. And when you bring families into the community, it number one brings folks to your town, but number two, it grows your economy. That's proven.
Yeah.
I mean, and so there'll be no rental property on any of the property that City of St. Albans sells.
And I think a key component of that is beautification, is keeping these properties maintained, and the enforcement arm of the building department actually has had a wonderful track record over the last 2 or 3 years. You've seen increases of violations taken care of and citations issued, but a lot of those have been resolved without further situations, right?
Yeah, I mean, they know we're not messing around. I mean, we try to work with people. I mean, we do every day, but the numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to go to court either.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, but if we have to go that route, we'll go that route.
Yeah. So help me out here. If somebody has an issue on their property of a property owner, what are the steps involved of saying, hey, I've got some issues in and around my property. Who do I contact, and how do I get that process started?
Well, I mean, they just call the building department. Usually, when we show up for a complaint or a violation, it's usually we try to call first, knock, talk, just say, hey, can you take care of this?
Yeah.
Most times, sure. Then never hear from them again. But then there's others, oh, yeah, we'll get it.
And never
2 weeks later, 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
And then it's 3 violations and then court, and then you're fined.
Wow. Just goes to show you, take care of your property.
Now, one thing about it is also, Tony, is most of the time when we approach folks, they take care of their properties.
Yeah.
The citations that we hand out are a lot less than the folks that we approach about their violations.
Okay.
They do take care of them, and that's what we want to do. We want to work with people. But here's the bottom line. Take care of your property, respect your property, but more importantly, respect your neighbors.
Yeah.
Because if your property is run down, it devalues the property value of their home and property, and we're not going to put up with that.
Yeah, and it kind of brings down civic pride at that point.
It does.
And civic pride is another key component in keeping your community spirits high. I mean, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fluff, but it's actually true.
Yeah, exactly true. Oh, I get Marshall can tell you. I mean, it'd be like, hey, Marshall, I got this message last night on this piece of property, and he goes and looks at it and takes care of it.
Wow.
Well, and most that comes full circle to rental property. We have most of these properties that are problems are rental properties.
Really?
And I want to say we have very responsible landlords, but we have too many irresponsible landlords that don't take care of their property. They just look for their monthly check. All right, and they don't care about the people around them. And those are the people that we're going to go after.
Yeah.
So if you're one of those slumlords, we're coming after you.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it takes a village to keep, community, civic, and pride, high and keeping your community clean. So another way that you can actually voice your opinion if you have issues as far as, the public is actually invited to our city council meetings. Those happen first and third Mondays of the month at 6:30. They're in council chambers at 51 6th Avenue. And that is above the old fire and police station, which is now the fire station. So like I mentioned, the public is invited to attend, and the mayor actually gives about 5 minutes per constituent for
public forum.
Public forum. So And one thing also that we do, we actually post our agendas and minutes on our website at stalbanswv.com. We used to stream. I think we're going to get back to live streaming the city council meetings pretty soon, but we actually post those out on Facebook and on YouTube and the website. So if you want to recap on any city council meeting, you've got a number of avenues to go to watch and read and learn what's going on in your community. So, yep. But with that said, Marshall, thank you so much for sticking. You're welcome to stick by on the second segment if you want.
Thanks for having me. We're
going to talk about some upcoming events.
One thing, Anthony, I want to say before, if he leaves, Marshall was helping Carl out. Carl was the building inspector at the time, and Carl and them moved south. But, I always talk to our employees and our department heads and things like that when I got to make a change.
Yeah.
And he recommended Marshall, and Marshall has done a fantastic job. He does what I ask him, but he goes above and beyond. I don't micromanage. He knows what I want. He gets it done.
And you'd say that without him in the room.
I would.
Absolutely.
I would. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You have, man. You've done an outstanding job, and the community realizes it and knows about it. So, keep up the great work. We appreciate you.
That's the plan.
Yep.
All righty. With that said, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
The St. Albans community welcomes visitors to experience the fun our city has to offer all year round. Whether you're coming for a weekend, a summer, or choose to move here for life, you won't have a hard time finding fun activities for you and your family. Our city organizes several festivals throughout the year that include the Yak Fest, the popular Chili and Wing Festival, Christmas celebrations, and the fast-growing Tour de Cole.
The Tour de Cole is one of the largest flatwater kayak events in the United States now. We bring over 2,000 people to the river. It's a part of our river restoration program. People donate money. They get on the river, they have a ball, they travel 12 miles to St. Albans.
When you're not taking advantage of different festivals and events, see what plays are happening at the Albans Theater. Or visit our historical society. Learn about our past and see what interesting projects are underway. Intrigued by our history? Make sure to attend the annual Founders Day event honoring St. Albans history.
I've lived in St. Albans my entire life, and I love it.
We've moved here from Canada a couple of years ago, and I love St. Albans because the people are so welcoming here.
And I just love the community that we have here and all the fine things we do for the elderly.
I have lived in St. Albans all my life, and we are at Flowers and Old Main, and we love St. Albans.
Experience the fun when you visit St. Albans.
All right, we're back with the City of St. Albans official podcast with Mayor Scott James. I tell you, if you walk outside right now, you're probably going to get a nose full of pollen.
Oh, there's a bunch of it out there. The hood of my truck is yellow. Yeah. So you try to keep it off as much as possible. But if you wash it one day, then you got to wash it the next day.
I'm the same way. I have a black vehicle.
Yeah.
And the color black on a vehicle is not a color. It's more of a commitment.
Yeah.
Because you're always clean.
Yeah. People think black doesn't show dirt and stuff as much. It shows it more.
It does. And, you wash it one day and you've got a black vehicle. You come back, like you said, the next day and it's a yellow vehicle.
Yes.
So, but, what I'm alluding to is spring is officially here. Soon will be summer, but there's a bevy of events coming up here in town. And we've got a long list of stuff, both, fun, exciting. I mean, everything from movies to a new pub crawl that's launching. A chance to spring clean and clean up your community. But the ultimate cap of the summertime, Yak Fest is just around the corner. So let's dive into some events. What do you say?
Let's go.
Okay. So, and I want to preference this. These pub crawls, they tend to go to, or they actually do go to good causes. The two originally in the year, for St. Patrick's Day and Halloween, those benefit the Alban.
Yes.
But the new one coming about that happens on May 2nd, which is the Cinco de Mayo celebration, is actually a benefit for the Alzheimer's Association West Virginia chapter. So that's out on Main Street.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Friday, May 2nd, I think it starts at 6 or 7, goes till about 11. Mm-hmm. And it's the benefit Alzheimer's Association. And, folks, my mother passed away at 90 from Alzheimer's, dementia, Alzheimer's, and probably 95 to 98% of the people out there have been touched by Alzheimer's some way.
Absolutely.
All right? And the more we can do to help these associations raise money to slow that process down or find a cure, the better off we're going to be. So they approached me, and I said, that's fine. Be more than happy to help. And so Friday, May 2nd, mark it down, Pub Crawl St. Albans to benefit Alzheimer's Association, West Virginia chapter.
And, you know, you keep in mind, too, the city of St. Albans is an Alzheimer's aware city.
Yeah, dementia-friendly city.
Dementia-friendly, yeah.
Yes, we are. And we were the first and still might be the only one in West Virginia that's considered a dementia-friendly city.
And what that does is it helps the community to become aware of dementia and Alzheimer's and its effects, but also it helps the community's businesses kind of rally together to be able to provide a safe place in a business setting for customers to shop and everything else and feel, you know, welcomed and everything.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Walt Hall and his organization's done a great job of not just educating individual families, but also businesses. You know, if you see this, and this, you might have an Alzheimer's patient in your store.
Yeah.
This is how you deal with it. So a lot of it has to do with education.
Absolutely.
So it makes St. Albans a better community because of this.
Sure does. It absolutely does. And to shift gears a little bit, you know, you and WQBE have actually been hard at work planning a pretty cool event.
Saturday night on Old Main.
Movies on Main update, right?
Yeah.
So to walk us through this event, this really cool event that's going to probably start taking shape pretty soon here.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do a Saturday night on Old Main for a few years now, and it just never has been able to develop. And QBE came to me a few months back and said, hey, we'll put up our 200-foot screen at the end of Old Main and B Street, where the stage usually is. All right, and they're going to show a movie when it comes, you know, gets dark and everything else. But starting at 6 or 7, we're going to have music playing on the plaza there at Old Main. So this is going to be an evening-long affair.
Great.
Okay. And, you know, we're about ready to get approved for POTA, Public Outdoor Designated Area.
Yep.
So people, if they choose to, can go in the Tap or Drummies or Shuckers or wherever, get a beer, come out, listen to music. Bring your chairs, though, for the movies, guys, and the music, because we're not going to provide chairs. Bring your bag chairs. And 3 of the 4 movie dates, which are May 24th, May 31st, July 26th, and August 2nd. 3 of the 4 are going to be very children-oriented movies, family-oriented movies. One of those evenings, which might be July 26th, I'm not for sure, is going to have more of a adult-themed movie. And when I say that, it's probably going to have a little bit more of maybe violence and stuff like that than the children-themed movies.
It goes from G to PG.
Yeah, G, maybe PG-13.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I thank WQBE for their partnership in this, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to bring a lot of people to St. Albans.
It sure will.
It's going to bring more people to St. Albans, and when they visit our shops, our restaurants, our bars, they keep coming back.
Yeah,
that's why Old Main is packed Tuesday through Saturday night. You can't find a parking spot.
Absolutely.
All right. And so, you know, we want to increase that. And to be honest with you, talk about economic development, we are really focusing in on the train depot. We're about ready to get a caboose over there. We've already got the tracks over there.
That's what those tracks are for.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're getting a caboose, and it'll be open periodically for people to come check out.
Okay.
And We're also have been in talks with Amtrak to get them to possibly use St. Albans Depot as a drop-off point and pickup point in the future. So
that would be a game changer.
Yeah. Well, and people got to realize, and for anybody out there listening, if you're an investor, 5th Avenue and 4th Avenue. 4th Avenue is where the train depot is. From 6th Street, where Lance Lumber is, down to 2nd Street is on the National Historical Registry. So if you want to develop in those areas, you get a lot of tax incentives and tax breaks.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cool ideas that can happen in that historic place.
Oh my goodness.
And I was excited but kind of curious to why those tracks were there.
Yeah.
I was like, what are they doing over there?
We're bringing a caboose in.
But that's kind of cool. Now, would it be like a tour thing, or they?
Yeah, it'll be open periodically.
Okay.
Now, I'm not ruling out getting more of them and maybe doing restaurants or overnight stays eventually, but that's going to be down the road. So we'll see. C&O Historical Society has been a tremendous partner for the city of St. Albans.
They have. They've stepped up and really made a difference in that area, especially with the old depot building. A little bit of history. My father, way back when, and his colleague, Vera Ellis. I don't know if you remember Vera Ellis.
Vera, yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
They were on the original committee way back when of the first restoration of the depot.
Right.
And there used to be a plaque on the wall in that depot that kind of outlined the original restoration effort. So
is it still?
It's not there.
It's not there.
Yeah, it's not
Somebody
there.
took it somewhere over the years.
But that building has always had a special place in my heart, and of course for countless others, about a historical landmark both in our minds and our memories and our hearts. So it's always good to see those types of buildings and memories being maintained and improved on throughout the years. I mean, think about how many memories that's going to create with hanging around in that caboose, or if more comes to that area, what community could that bring?
Yeah, folks that follow railroads will travel 3-4 states.
Oh yeah, they will
to visit historical railroad buildings and different things. But so that's an area we're focusing in on, and I'm gonna. And I said I wasn't going to, but I'm going to drop a little something.
Now be careful.
And I can't get into any specifics, but we're excited about another area here in St. Albans that's kind of next door to City Hall, and that's all I can say about it. So
let your imagination wander.
Yeah.
But before all this stuff happens, there's a spring cleanup initiative that we've got to get through to help spruce up and clean out and improve and everything else. And it's a yearly thing that we do here in the city of St. Albans. It's called the Spring Cleanup. And that's actually going on April 28th through May 9th. And as the mayor was telling me, it kind of goes along the trash pickup schedule through the wards. Like, for example, Monday, April 28th, that spring cleanup or cleanup pickup will be Ward 1. Tuesday of that week will be Ward 2. April 30th, Ward 3, and so on and so forth. So it picks up again the following week on Monday, May 5th, kind of picks up on Ward 6, and all the way through Thursday for Ward 9. And then the special day is May 9th for the entire city.
Right.
So, like, if you've forgotten something or you're in your garage and you said, man, I wish I would have put that out, here's your second chance to get rid of it.
What I would recommend also, if you can drop a call to Public Works, if it's something big, let them know what it is that it needs picked up, and they'll get it done. Now, one thing they won't pick up is paint and chemicals, things like that. They will not pick that up. If you've got paint you want to get rid of, get some kitty litter or some Stay Dry that you put like on oil leaks and stuff, and you put it in the can, it dries it up, and we'll take it then.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that, a key component of this as well is that's the time when the street sweeper goes by. So we want to make sure you have your cars off the street as best as possible to make it easier for that street sweeper to get through there and sweep up the debris and everything else that may be hanging around. But, we invite everybody to take part in that spring cleanup initiatives. If you need more information, you're more than welcome to call City Hall, or even better yet, St. Albans Public Works, 304-722-4259. of course, during business hours, and they'll help you, get things, kind of ready to go for you and what they accept and whatnot. So looking forward to that.
Always do.
Absolutely. But I've saved the best for last, and from what I understand, there's been some movement on the Yak Fest front. But if you've been under a rock for the last, 6-7 years?
Since 2018.
Since 2018. We throw this little party on Main Street called Yak Fest. And it works in tandem with the Tour de Cole, which is a big, huge flat water kayaking
largest
event.
in the country.
And it's been rated several times as best event or popular or something among many magazines and designations. But Yak Fest 2025 is right around the corner. And, Mayor sits on that committee. Can you bring us news, updates, happenings, or?
Well, the dates this year are June 13th and 14th. Okay. We're not totally done with entertainment, so I don't want to throw that out there yet. But you can go to yakfestwv.com, get more information. If you want to be a vendor, go to yakfestwv.com, and you can fill out an application. They'll get it and contact you about being a vendor.
Okay, great.
But, the most that we have estimated was between 17 and 18,000 people on Old Main between Friday and Saturday.
That's it's
crowd. Huge for our community.
Oh, yeah.
Last year, numbers were down a little bit, not much. We still had a great turnout and a great time. We're looking for another exciting 2 days. And I always remember, guys, the Tour de Cole is the largest flat water kayaking event in the country. And this year, I think it's the 21st year, and we usually have between 1,800, 2,000 kayaks going down the Cole River.
Yeah, it's an amazing sight to see. And especially that weekend is a huge draw and a good impact of community as far as the financial impact on our community. So, and it lasts several days or several weeks afterwards as far as the impact.
You can start probably here very soon. Well, I saw some the other day. Going down Old Main, there's cars with kayaks on.
Yeah.
And I'll see them all the way through into September or early October.
Absolutely. And, one thing to note is, we're not just a kayak or a flat water community. And we've got a whole bevy of things you can get into around our neighborhood, but also, Tornado. They just recently opened that dirt track. Or that dirt trail.
It's the largest two-wheel tracks east of the Mississippi, and it's for e-bikes and dirt bikes.
And it's part of the Hatfield-McCoy system.
Hatfield-McCoy system developed it. It is the largest tracks east of the Mississippi for two-wheel vehicles. It's got to be motorized. You can't ride your bike on it, your pedal bike, but it's for dirt bikes and e-bikes.
Oh, great. Good deal. Yeah. And you can probably get on the Hatfield-McCoy Trail System website for more information, trailheads, passes, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. And, Anthony, things continue to develop around us and for us. And all that does is bring people to our community, and it just continues to grow.
Well, you always have a saying of, St. Albans is more or less like West Virginia's best kept secret, but the secret's getting out.
It is.
So that always sticks in my mind when I hear, great things happening about St. Albans. And it's like the more and more people know about it, the more and more people will come and experience it.
We've had people as far away as New York down here riding on that trail.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is super cool. A couple things that I did not have a chance to get on our topic list here. Parks and Rec have got a live music series happening and starting out at Roadside Park pretty soon. Those are going to go nightly, not nightly, but every other weekend, I'm sorry. And you can find out more about that at saparkswv.com. But I've heard rumors that Dragonpalooza is going to happen again this year, too.
I've heard that. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
We haven't had the best of luck on weather with Dragonpalooza over the last few years.
Brutally hot last year.
Yeah, but at least they got to have it. Prior to that, it got rained out 2 years in a row, I believe.
By a hurricane.
Yes.
In West Virginia.
Yeah.
So imagine that. But the rumor is that it's going to happen sometime in September. More rumors about the entertainment. It's going to be a sight to see.
Yeah. Oh, it's. I mean, anything we put on down here is always top notch. One thing I do want to mention, August, I think it's the 23rd, is Mountaineer Main Street. We'll talk more about that in the future.
Okay.
But WKLC or 100.9, the mix, they're going to have, again, former athletes signing autographs.
Nice.
They'll have some of the band, the cheerleaders, the dance team, and some other people. We're trying to get some coaches down here. So
now I noticed a West Virginia emblem on your jacket. You're more of a diehard Marshall fan, though.
I am, but you got to understand that for many years when I was girls basketball coach at St. Albans, we went W team camp.
Okay.
And Coach Carey and I became good friends.
So you're a straddler.
Well, I always root for W if they're not playing Marshall.
I'm just giving you a rough time.
But we'd be sitting up in his office, and he'd look at the equipment manager, Kyle, and said, Kyle, go down and get Coach a big old stack of gear. And I mean, they'd bring a stack. It was probably a foot and a half high. Wow. T-shirts, pullovers, things like that.
Very good.
I appreciate Coach Carey and W for doing that. But, I support them all.
Yeah.
Now, if W does play football against Marshall, I'm rooting for Marshall. That's the only time I'll root against W.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So,
but no, I was just giving you a rough time.
Yeah.
It's when you have two stellar teams like that, sometimes it's hard to decide.
Yeah, I'm excited about both with Rich Rod coming back, and I wasn't the biggest fan of him, but winning takes care of things. I don't fault anybody for bettering themselves, but I fault the way he did it, and he's admitted that.
Yeah.
And that kind of brought me back to the table a little bit. But I'm excited for Marshall's new coach.
Yeah.
From down Van. So.
Absolutely. It's going to be a good season. Both of those schools are going to have a really good season. So.
Yep.
But more or less, we do update our events on our city calendar. That's happening at stalbanswv.com/events. I mean, we've got everything on there from car shows to Yak Fest, all kinds of stuff, and we just keep updating it. So be sure to check out that. But that brings us to another close. Any closing remarks, Mr. Mayor?
No, just, guys, it takes all of us, the city. It takes the citizens, the employees of St. Albans, to make this a great community and continue to make it grow and let it grow. And I also want to let people know, if you've got an issue, feel free to call my office. We'll set up a meeting and we'll talk face to face. Don't hide behind the keyboard.
There you go. Always an open door policy.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Mayor, we thank you for sitting down with us, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Sounds great. Happy Easter to everybody.
Thank you for joining us for the City of St. Albans official podcast from the desk of Mayor James. We hope this inside look at our city government and upcoming events helps you feel more engaged with your community. We appreciate your support and our efforts to make St. Albans a thriving community for all. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share a podcast on your favorite podcast platforms and out on social media. Our podcast episodes are available on our city's website at stalbanswv.com/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you out and about here in St. Albans.